We committed to working together to take on the challenges from China and on issues like the East China Sea, the South China Sea, as well as North Korea, to ensure a future of a free and open Indo-Pacific. We're going to work together to prove that democracies can still compete and win in the 21st century. Our nations are committed to taking aggressive action to meet the threats of climate change. Japan and the United States are both committed to achieving net zero emissions by 2050, and we know to do that will require setting and meeting our 2030 goal.
That was President Biden in the last hour during a joint news conference with the Prime Minister of Japan, Yoshihide Suga. The top agenda item for their meeting has been how to mitigate for the rising economic, political, and military power of China. Joining us now to discuss the global impact of this bilateral relationship, as well as today's news coming out of the summit, is Gordon Chang. He's author of the book, The Coming Collapse of China. Gordon, welcome back. Talk to us about the importance of this summit today, considering that China is the power in the region, but was not the first state visit invited by President Biden.
Yeah, the importance here is certainly, I think, style is substance, because really this is the first foreign leader to visit President Biden in the White House. And if we go back, for instance, 3 or 4 administrations, Japan was nowhere on the radar for American presidents. Now they're front and center. And really this is, of course, an issue of the concern about China. So there were a lot of things announced today. We don't know whether they'll work out and really be that important in the long run. But the important thing is the pictures that Beijing will see of the Japanese Prime Minister being the first visitor.
And it's interesting that it was Japan and not South Korea, knowing that there's also an ongoing challenge with North Korea's nuclear proliferation. And when we talk about technology and trying to combat China's 5G technology and their company, one would think that South Korea would be the natural partner for advancing in technology.
Yes, our relations, though, with Tokyo are much closer than they are with South Korea. South Korea now has a president who is not only undermining democratic institutions, something that divides the United States and South Korea, but also a president who is actually closer to China and North Korea in his goals than to us, even though we are the country that is the only one in the world pledged to defend South Korea. So tensions, I think, between Seoul and Washington are there, and they're probably going to get worse over time. So President Moon Jae-in is really no friend of the U.S., and that's why I think that the first meeting was with Japan rather than with South Korea. Moon Jae-in actually does come to Washington next month. There will be a meeting with President Biden, but I don't think it'll be as friendly as this one, at least when the cameras are not present.
And so they talked about technology, they talked about climate change coordination. Those are several of the bilateral issues. In their joint statements, they did not really talk as much about military coordination, even though Okinawa is a major military base in the region, even though there is concern about China's advancement of their military. What do you make of that? Is that just more for public posturing?
Yeah, I think this actually is the one problem of the summit, and that is that the United States wanted a more robust statement on Taiwan, and Japan really wasn't willing to give it. And that's largely because the business community in Japan has been very influential with Prime Minister Suga, who himself is not a hardliner on China. So I think the Liberal Democratic Party is really not at a point where they should be on Taiwan, because the defense of Japan really depends upon Taiwan. The Japanese military establishment understands that. I'm not so sure that the business elites do as well.
And so do you think it was a win to get an acknowledgement from Japan and their prime minister that there is a problem in Xinjiang related to the human rights violations? Real quick, we have like 30 seconds left.
Yeah, I think that it certainly was, because Japan has not imposed sanctions on Chinese officials in Xinjiang, though the United States and our other allies have done so. So this was an important step rhetorically to get Japan on the same page with the rest of us.
Thank you so much, Gordon, for joining us. We'll have you back as we continue to unpack the relationship between the United States and China. Stay tuned for more of The World Tonight.